And sort of my approach is burn up the bills, house fire, you burn the bills or you kill the bills, or sort of what I say. And to get started, because a lot of people are paralyzed. They've got the first timer freeze is what I call it. And they, there's two things causing it. One, this analysis paralysis is that they're evaluating different product types, which what I mean by that is, hey, I'm looking at this vacation rental. I'm looking at this, Airbnb, and then I'm looking at this multifamily, and I'm looking at this single family. They all make me money, right? But which one is the best? And they don't know, like, what do I choose from? And sorry, my phone's ringing. I thought I turned this off, but and so that's one thing that freezes them. And then the two is like, how much cash flow? What do I need? This one makes 200, but it's more work. This one's further away, but I got to get a property manager. And so the way I approach it and the way I tackle fire, and this is my version of house fire, and that is the goal of financial independence and retiring early, is like, just pick a bill. Pick what bill you hate the most. So for me, it was, when I first started, it was my internet bill, $150 internet bill. There's nothing I can do to get rid of this internet bill. I can't go to Costco and say, hey, I want to buy a bulk supply of internet access or a lifetime supply, at a discount. I can't negotiate with my internet provider. I just knew this bill was going to follow me for the rest of my life. Now, the traditional fire approach is, okay, well, you have to save 25 times that annual expense and put it in a mutual fund, and then you do a 3 or 4% withdrawal rate. And if you're familiar with fire, this is the standard. So you take that $150 internet bill, times it by 12. That's $1,800 a month I'm spending on internet access. Fire says, okay, well, 1,800 times 25 is $45,000. You put $45,000 in mutual fund and you pull 4% a year, that's $1,800. And with compound interest and the market's going up, and there's mathematical equations, all this stuff going with it, your internet bill's paid for life. Great. So I have to save up $45,000 to get lifetime supply of internet access. And I didn't like that. I was like, well, how's the faster way to do this? And well, of course, it's real estate. All you have to do is save up $20,000, go buy a house that's $100,000, even with a property manager. If it's out of state, I can cash flow. I can find that deal all day and cash flow $150. So with $20,000, which is more than half of that $45,000 to kill that internet bill, I took something that's $20,000, put it in real estate, cash flows me $150. That pays for that bill. All it took was $20,000. And of course, the beauty with real estate, it's not get rich quick, it's get rich slow. But over time, that $20,000, on a $100,000 property is going to be a $130,000 property. It's going to be a $150,000 property. Eventually, the mortgage is going to be paid off. And then I have $500 of that rental property I can put towards bills, or $1,000. And it's just, the more you accumulate, the more of these bill killing that you can do. And burning up the bills with house fire has sort of been my strategy. And once I got that internet off, then I went to the next bill. Okay, my gas, my electric, combined, that's another $100, maybe $150. Okay, all I got to do is save another $20,000, and I've paid for my gas and my electric bill for the rest of my life. And then my phone bill. And I just went through every single bill in my life and bought a house to pay that bill. And it's the cheaper way, because fire makes me have to be a millionaire to retire, because $25,000 of expenses, typically you need at least $1.2 million to retire. And then you're on a fixed budget, which drives me nuts. And then when I was leading fire, I hated being on a fixed budget, but I knew exactly what my income was. But with house fire, you're not on a fixed budget, because every year the rent goes up, the expenses go down, eventually mortgages get paid off. I actually have more money each year in retirement to spend on myself. So I live larger and larger each year. And I've thrown a lot at you, but I sort of went on a rant, but that's a little bit everything about house fire right there, Kirby.
It's such gold. It's such gold. There's a few things that I just wanted to maybe put an exclamation point on that you discussed. The first one that stood out to me is this idea of diversification, which I don't think is discussed a whole lot in real estate. You hear about it with stocks. That's the whole point behind mutual funds, is this diversified portfolio. But I think what you're describing is tough for new investors to think through and think about how this really limits your risk, because all you're thinking about is that first deal when you're getting started. But once you start accumulating a portfolio, like you said, you're going to use leverage to buy lots of different properties. They all have different rates, interest rates on them. They all have different rent rates. They all have they're in different places, and so you can diversify away some of that risk so that if there's a downturn, maybe it happens when in one particular area, or maybe it's when one loan is coming due or something like that. And it's not going to affect all your properties in the same way anyway. And then over time, obviously real estate, we all know, goes up in value. So I think that's really important for new people to pay attention to. And then I think people should rewind and listen to that last explanation that you just talked about with paying your bills. I heard in a different interview that you did, you used the example of a Tesla payment, and I think this is easy for people to wrap their head around, because a lot of people want to go out and buy a Tesla or a new car or whatever. And we want that instant gratification. But if you're willing to say, okay, to earn this Tesla, I'm just going to go out and buy a house. And instead of buying the Tesla, I'm buying a house. As soon as I buy this house, it's going to pay for this Tesla, which will be paid off in 5 years. I'll still have that income. I'll still own the Tesla, and I'll own this property that eventually will be paid off. It's incredible. This is how rich people work. This is how the wealthiest people in the world, they create these perpetual cycles that just continue to pay them.
That's the thing, is I didn't get that from the predominant personal finance advisors on TV. They're not teaching you what real wealthy people do. They teach you what poor people do to get better at finances, but they don't teach you what rich people do. And so I sort of learned this accidentally. And yes, so to your point, Susie Orman, I'm just, that's the name that's coming to mind. I'm not necessarily picking on her, but this is conventional wisdom. Buy a used car, pay it in all cash, don't have a car note. You just hear that over and over and over again. So you think that's what I should be doing. And you feel guilty if you have a car note. And I'm like, no, if you buy a Tesla, that's $40,000. I'm effectively giving $40,000 to Elon Musk and saying, okay, go off to Mars. Congratulations. But I got my new Tesla. But I'm out $40,000. The house fire way, or the wealthy way, is why don't I take $40,000? I can go buy a house in all cash. Maybe I find a $40,000 house, but I just went on a rant why you shouldn't do that. But maybe it's $40,000 is a down payment on a $200,000 house. That cash flows me $450 a month. Either one of those strategies: buy it in all cash for $450, or leverage it, try to get something that's cash flow for $450. That $450 is going to pay for my car note. Now, what happened to that $40,000? I didn't give it to Elon Musk. He's not going to Mars right now. I give it to myself. I took my $40,000 and I keep it, but I bought an asset that's income producing that's going to pay for my Tesla. So it's the same sort of thing. Every real estate property needs to have a bill associated with it. So once you cover all your basic necessities, your internet, your utility bills, your food, and your transportation, then you get to have fun. That's when you get to go buy the toys. I'm going to buy this house to go get a Tesla. I'm going to buy this house, and whatever I make on it is going to be my vacation budget. I'm going to buy this house, and I'm going to buy, a second car or a vacation rental. And then I have a house that's paying for another house. The income from this house is going to pay for the down payment on my next house. That's going to be my vacation home. And so I just have houses for this bill, houses for this bill. And then if I want to afford anything in life, I just say, okay, I need to save up for a house to pay for it. And that's what rich people do. They have assets that pay for all their expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you look at that 40,000 on a balance sheet, basically you're moving it from cash to equity in a property, still, your asset. But each month now you can watch that 40,000 grow. Every time a rent payment comes in, every time you pay down your mortgage a little bit, each time you file your taxes, that 40,000 expands while it's paying for this Tesla, which is getting paid off faster than the depreciation. But instead, if you had just bought the Tesla, you'd watch it contract. That 40,000 would get smaller and smaller because the value is going down every month on that Tesla or new car or whatever it is. So
right.
I love that explanation, and it's such a great way to look at it.